Follow YouTube and Telegram channel at IELTS Research BD.
Section 1. You will hear a woman phoning to complain about the item she ordered last week. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. You will see there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Hello, you are through to the complaints department at Clifton Antiques. Before we begin, I'll just need to take a few details from you. Is that okay?
Yes, of course, no problem.
Okay, can I please have your full name?
My name is Anna Lumley. That's Anna, L-U-M-L-E-Y.
Right.
The name is Anna Lumley, so Lumley has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Hello, you are through to the complaints department at Clifton Antiques. Before we begin, I'll just need to take a few details from you. Is that okay?
Yes, of course, no problem.
Okay, can I please have your full name?
My name is Anna Lumley. That's Anna, L-U-M-L-E-Y.
Right, and could you give me a contact number which we can use to reach you during the week?
My mobile phone number is 077876345.
Okay, great. How can I help you today, Anna?
I ordered a large number of items from you last week on the 20th of February and was expecting them to be delivered on the 27th. However, only half of the shipment has arrived. I just want to make sure that they haven't been lost in transit.
Right, okay. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Let me track the parcel and see if I can find out when you should expect to receive the rest of your items. What did you list as the delivery address?
I arranged for the parcel to be delivered from your warehouse on Ardell Road to my work address at 235 Ackendale Road.
What was it, sorry?
235 Ackendale Road. A-K-E-N-D-A-L-E.
Eastsea?
Yes, Eastsea.
Right, okay. I've found your parcel here on our system. I can see that you've received your shipment, however, nothing is mentioned about the missing items. I would advise that you wait for 2 days, and if the other items don't arrive then, it may be necessary for you to claim insurance coverage for the value of the items. How much are the missing items worth?
They cost me $34,500.
Well, the insurance company will cover you for 10% of the value, so you could claim $3,450 from them. Just fill in the form on our website, and when the loss is confirmed, you'll receive the money within 1 week. We will refund the rest of the money to you within a month, so you won't suffer a financial loss.
That sounds fine.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
I'll just need to take a list of the missing items from you so we can check it against our records. Is that okay?
Sure, no problem. Unfortunately, a lot of the items are one of a kind and therefore irreplaceable. There were some small items such as lamps and chairs that aren't very valuable. However, there was a large item of antique furniture and a bag full of first edition books, which were among the first ever to be printed on a press.
Right. Okay. Is there anything else?
Yes, I also purchased a Victorian rocking horse for my daughter, some large oil paintings originating from the Edwardian period, and a few decorative fruit bowls.
Right, okay. I've taken a list of your missing items, so I'll phone the warehouse to see if any of them are lying around.
Ah, I almost forgot. There were a couple of other pieces that I've spotted on your website and would like to order. Can I do that now?
Of course, no problem. Can you give me a description of the items that you're looking to purchase?
There was a gold clock and a golden framed vintage mirror.
Okay, perfect. I'll charge the items to the payment card that you used before, and they should be delivered to you within the next week. Is there anything else that I can do for you today?
Yes, 2 of the items that I received in the shipment are damaged, so I need to make a claim for a partial refund.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I need to take down a few details of the actual damage over the phone before you put in a full report. Can you tell me which pieces are damaged?
A drawer is missing from the antique mahogany desk, and there is also a dent on one of the corners, so it's unusable.
I see. Any idea of the price of repairing it?
No, well, I don't think it can be repaired. I will need a new one.
Okay, I'll make a note of that and we'll see what we can do. Anything else?
I also purchased a set of dining chairs with navy leather padding. However, the colour is faded and one of the legs has completely split down the middle.
Okay, are there any other damaged pieces?
Yes, I purchased a set of Chinese crockery to furnish my dining room table. However, when I opened the box, I found that a cup was missing and that some plates had smashed. 4, actually.
And is that all of the items?
Yes, I think that's all.
Right, I'll calculate the value of the damaged items and we'll issue you a refund.
Okay, thank you so much for your help.
No problem at all, it was my pleasure. Goodbye.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Section 2. You will hear a guide at a natural history museum talking to a group of visitors. First, you have some time to read through questions 11 to 16. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're very happy to welcome you to the Museum of Natural History today. My name is Patrick, and I'll be your guide for today's tour. Before we get started, I'll first go over a few of the museum's highlights. To start with, our dinosaur exhibits are some of the most popular in the museum. These include actual skeletons and remains from these prehistoric animals. There are also numerous interactive displays which share information about the different dinosaur species. And be sure not to miss the life-size replica models of the colossal Tyrannosaurus and Brontosaurus on exhibit just beyond the prehistoric timeline display in the main foyer. We have a few amazing displays about ocean life as well. Our life-size model of a blue whale is in the main courtyard, and we have a spectacular under-the-sea room, which includes lots of models of fish and mammals. Our dolphin display is possibly our most famous. It draws loads of people to see actual-size models of the creatures and learn about how they swim. We also have a display about fish evolution, which is especially interesting as it shows how they started as simple organisms and developed into complex species. And we have a very interesting display focusing on the life cycle of sharks. It shows how they develop from an embryo in an egg until they are fully grown, and features models of infant sharks, adolescents, and fearsome adult hunters. And then there is our plant life exhibit, which is contained in the museum's indoor botanical garden. Colourful and rare species of plants, trees and shrubs have been imported and put on display for you to view, including specimens from the Amazon rainforest and the tundra of Greenland. We are proud to house the country's rarest assortment of wildflowers, many of which you can grow yourself with seeds from our shop. One special area of note is our activity zone, which has several interactive displays and activities. You can watch a short film on the evolution of our human ancestors, showing how we evolved through time. And also check out our stage area, which hosts a variety of interesting presentations, demonstrations and talks throughout the day. In addition, visit our 3D planetarium, where you can view incredible images of the stars and universe.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you can read through questions 17 to 20.
You will hear a student talking to a professor about a car technology competition. First, you have some time to read through questions 17 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 17 to 20.
Professor Brown, I'm hoping to participate in the National Car Technology Competition.
Certainly, Alice. The idea submission deadline is next Thursday, though. Do you already have an idea in mind?
Oh, I have a couple of ideas. One is for a biometric access system. This would allow only particular users to unlock, start, and drive the vehicle by using sensors.
Interesting idea. How would that work exactly?
Well, it would require the use of a scanner to access the vehicle and interior sensors to scan the eyes of drivers for retinal confirmation. Drivers would place a thumb on the outdoor scanner to unlock the vehicle, and the retinal sensor would allow them to turn on the ignition.
That might be complicated. Do you have any ideas on how that sensor might work?
I was thinking about embedding it in the rear-view mirror. The driver would simply look into the mirror, and the sensor would scan their retina. If the person is authorized to use the vehicle, the ignition would automatically turn on.
Sounds impressive. I think you should go ahead with that idea. Is there anything else you need help with?
Well, actually, the entrance fee is higher than I expected.
Oh, there actually is a sponsorship from the university that you may be eligible for, and as far as I know, you'll be able to do that. Then the cost of $200 for entering the competition would be lifted. And of course, you'd be able to use materials for the project at our lab facilities. You can pick up a form to apply for the sponsorship at the academic office.
Excellent. And what is required for the application?
You'll first need to submit a proposal, no longer than 1 page, to the Dean of the Engineering College by this Wednesday. If he thinks your idea is intriguing enough, then he'll meet with you in person to discuss some additional details about it.
All right. I suppose I ought to get started on typing my proposal then.
Oh, and for your reference, the proposal must include a rough design or sketch of your idea. Otherwise, the Dean won't accept it. It's a very particular requirement, but it's because he prefers to look at papers with graphical information. The proposal can be structured as you like and in any file format, and you can list references any way you want as well.
That's exactly what I was going to inquire about next. Actually, would you have some time to meet either today or Tuesday to provide me with some guidance on how to draft the proposal?
Certainly. I'll be available at my office after 4 p.m. this Tuesday. See you then.
Great, I'll come by your office at 4:30 on Tuesday. Thanks.
You now have 15 seconds to check your answers. Section 3.
You will hear a student presentation about chemicals called dioxins. First, you have some time to read through questions 11 to 20. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 20.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to present my research project about dioxins today. First, I'd like to offer a short explanation as to why I chose dioxins as my presentation topic. In the United States, we hear a lot about dioxins, but not everybody understands where they come from or why they are harmful. I'd like to explain those two topics first, and then talk a little bit about how to avoid exposure to these harmful chemicals and what we can do to decrease the presence of dioxins in our land, air, and even food. First of all, what are dioxins? Well, they are considered one of the dirty dozen, which is a group of organic pollutants that are extremely dangerous to nature and habitats. Researchers have identified about 419 different types of dioxin compounds in existence, but only about 30 of those are thought to contain a significant amount of toxicity. Let's now discuss where they come from. Dioxins are produced from either industrial processes or natural processes. For instance, they form during the production of herbicides and pesticides sprayed on the ground. They are also formed during combustion activities such as trash burning. Garbage plays a large part in the creation of dioxins. The natural processes that would create dioxins include volcanic explosions and large forest fires. Now, how are we exposed to dioxins? What most people don't know is that dioxins are found worldwide, and we've all been exposed to them. The highest levels of dioxins are found in soil, sediments, dairy products, meat, and fish. In fact, over 90% of human exposure to dioxin is through food or the ingredients in our food, the vast majority. This is because dioxins accumulate in the fatty tissue of animals that are later sold as food to humans. For example, a study in Belgium from 1999 found high levels of dioxins in poultry and eggs, which was traced back to animal feed in particular locations. Furthermore, there are also subgroups of people that are particularly susceptible to dioxin exposure from other sources besides food. In particular, people who work at incineration plants or hazardous waste sites are definitely exposed to an abnormally high amount of dioxins.
Natalie, have you finished your outline for the report we've been assigned? You know, the one about the biology field trip to Hawthorne Oceanic Research Facility.
Hi, Greg. I'm still thinking about what topic to focus on. I thought maybe the subject of symbiosis.
Oh, yes. I remember that the chapter about it in our textbook was really fascinating, particularly the symbiotic relationships involving cleaner fish, like the wrasse fish we studied.
Mm-hmm. And there were moray eels at the Hawthorne facilities, as well as wrasse fish. I can describe in detail the cleaning process between those two species.
What did that involve again?
Well, the moray eels and wrasse fish were in the same tank, living on a reef. The wrasse fish gathered inside the reef and hung around until other fish showed up.
Ah, I remember. The eels went there to be cleaned.
Yes, Mr. Horace explained that.
He did. He said they usually gathered together near the cleaning station.
Yeah, and then the wrasse fish would approach the moray eels there while they were resting. And that's when they would start the cleaning process.
Right, I remember. First, they clean up the eel's gills by eating parasites and bacteria.
Yes, they actually eat that stuff right off the eels. And they pick away the dead scales as well.
Actually, you might also want to mention that the eels really rely on the fish because the parasites they eat are quite dangerous.
Uh-huh.
Also, at the end, the moray eels would often open their mouths and let the wrasse fish swim inside to clean as well. I thought it was really fascinating to see that part of the process.
Now, all I have to do is come up with some other examples of symbiotic relationships.
Check out the list of references on Mr. Horace's course outline. I'm sure you can find something suitable on it.
You now have 15 seconds to check your answers.
Section 4. You will hear a lecture from a professor in a history class about the development of railways. First, you have some time to read through questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40. Last time, I briefly introduced our next topic, which is the development of locomotives and their effect on history. We looked at the invention of the first locomotive by Richard Trevithick in 1804 in Wales, and I explained the basic concepts and designs of the first locomotives. Today, I'd like to move ahead and discuss the development of trains and railway systems thereafter. Trevithick's locomotive was not a financial success, unfortunately, but there was modest development of small rail systems in Great Britain after that. However, it wasn't until the early 1830s that large-scale railway construction began. And this was mainly due to industrialization sweeping across Great Britain, which increased demand for faster and cheaper transport. Centres of industry which contained new factories needed connections to port cities, where manufactured products could be shipped abroad. Likewise, raw materials needed to be sent to manufacturing plants. And it wasn't just in the UK that railways were being built, but all around the world, and this caused international trade to grow at a rapid rate. The mid-1800s saw an explosion of railway construction on large land masses. Continental Europe was also seeing an explosion of train rails because of the demand of industrialization. Rail transport spread around the globe quickly, notably in North America. In the US, some rail projects began in the early 1800s, but it was not until the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad in 1828 that a railroad fully connected cities in an entire region. It was also the first railway to be totally open to the public, rather than for a limited clientele. Canada also joined in and began building railways extensively in the 1850s. The discovery of gold in the western part of North America offered an additional incentive, and by the end of the century, the US and Canada each had built transcontinental railways connecting the east and west coasts. In the 20th century, there were several historic occasions that affected railway construction. Most early trains ran by coal-powered steam engines. But in 1912, the first diesel-fueled engine was introduced, which allowed for larger weights to be transported at faster speeds than ever. Long-distance land trips, which had previously taken weeks or even months, could now be accomplished in just a matter of days. Railway construction continued at a fast rate, as demand was growing for both commercial transport and passenger transit. The occurrence of World War I and World War II slowed down the growth of railway systems a bit, as often they were military targets and required reconstruction after being destroyed or damaged during battles. But another period of rapid growth occurred in the 1950s, as Europe and other parts of the world rebuilt following the aftermath of World War II. Following that, trains were the most popular method of land transportation, until usage of automobiles and aircrafts became more widespread and popular. So, why did train transport experience such rapid growth and success within such a relatively short period of time? Before locomotives, land transport was primarily limited to wagons pulled by animals. Travel times were incredibly long, making trade rather expensive and difficult. So world trade, even trade within the United Kingdom, was limited. Industrialization drove the development of railways as the period demanded larger quantities of materials and a better way to transport products. Manufacturers insisted on having a way to transport their goods more rapidly and cheaply to consumers or centers of commerce. And because of that, consumers started seeing a drop in the cost of manufactured products. Another reason rail systems grew so quickly, for Europeans and the British in particular, is that they allowed countries to have greater control of their colonies around the world. Soldiers and military equipment could easily and quickly be moved to wherever they were needed. Needed supplies were easily transported across great distances to more remote areas. Were it not for rail systems, control of foreign territories would have been impossible. And these days, the popularity of passenger trains continues to grow, and they have become even more innovative and cost-efficient. Cleaner fuels are being used, and with the development of electric trains, railway systems are more environmentally friendly. These days, we have very sleek and modern trains in many countries that travel at speeds of up to 430 kilometers per hour. And now we are seeing the further construction of electromagnetic train systems, which run on perfectly clean energy. Rapid development of advanced railway systems in East Asia and continental Europe have made trains the most popular method of travel in those regions. Many believe that trains will become the most popular form of transport in the future, as they are fast, efficient, and affordable. Now, before I talk about some of the positive and negative historical consequences of railway development, I would like to briefly That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test. Please take 10 minutes to fill in the answer sheet with your responses.